I don't know who needs to hear this, but the Holy Spirit told me to tell you to stop scrolling and let's dive into the story about Ruth. This is one of my favorite stories because I really relate to it being a single mother, and it brings me a lot of peace knowing that at the right time, God will send the right person. So in Naomi, she has a daughter-in-law named Ruth, and this is one of her son's wives, right? So Naomi was left alone. Both her sons passed away, and so did her husband. So it was just her and Ruth, and they decided to go and find somewhere to stay, right? Where they're at, they are not comfortable. They have no one there, so they decide to go to a field to work. So Ruth is out there gathering grain, and the owner, which is Boaz, actually sees her, and he's like, "Who are you?" Or he's asking everyone around him, like, "Who is she? Who is she?" And they're like, "She just showed up with her mother-in-law, Naomi." And he's like, I want you to leave blessings behind for her. I want you to leave like extra grains. I want you to make sure that you drop some, fruits and stuff for her to pick up, right, so that she can feed her mother-in-law. Ruth never knew this, okay? She just thought that it was left behind, so why not take it so it didn't go to waste? She comes to find out that Boaz is actually has his eyes on her, and he wakes up one night and finds her at the foot of his bed, and he's like, "Whoa, what are you doing?" And she's like, I want you to provide for me. And he says, he actually is related to Naomi. And she continuously just does her job, and she does it to the fullest. She doesn't slack. She doesn't ask anyone for help. She's taking care of her mother, and she's working hard and feeding them. And Boaz sees that, so he actually decides to make sure that it was okay for him to do that, right? Because back then you had to have permission, because she did have a husband at the time, and he had to make sure no one else had claimed her. And so he went out and made sure, and everyone said, you can have her. She's not ours. And he decided to marry Ruth, and Ruth went from being homeless to having an abundance of things, right? Now she's living on this land with these peoples that are cleaning up her land now. So this goes to say that don't ever count yourself out, because you never know who's going to see your worth and who's going to pick you up and help you. I had a similar experience today. I was on the side of the road in my Honda, and my tire blew. It was the scariest experience of my life. Thank goodness I was safe and someone stopped to help me out. But there was people just flying by me, honking at me. That feeling you get of just uncertainty and thinking that you're going to be all alone and no one's going to be there to help is very scary. And I can only imagine what Ruth felt at that moment, not having her husband, but now having to take care of her mother-in-law and not have anything at all. So she didn't have a place to stay. She had nothing. They had no food. And she took it upon herself to take her mother-in-law and go to this field to work to make sure that they could have things like food and a place to stay. And she ended up finding the love of her life. God has a plan for everything. He has you in the right place, the right time. And sometimes we do make fleshly decisions, but it all is for a story, right? It's all for a chapter in your book. I'm a big believer, if you have any questions and you think that you're not where you're supposed to be, close your eyes and ask Jesus to be there with you, and ask God to lead you down the right path. Allow him to use your hands to do his work, your feet to walk in his path, your mouth to speak his word, and your eyes to see his gifts in life, and he will show you more than you could ever imagine, guess, or request. I love you guys. Remember, don't ever listen to the world, but dive into his word.